While millions of people scream at their televisions, paint their faces in team colors, and feel genuinely devastated because 11 strangers lost a game, there exists a massive group of people who simply don't care, not even a little. And according to psychology and neuroscience, their brains may actually be wired in a fundamentally different way. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might completely change how you look at sports-obsessed people in your life, and how you see yourself if you've never understood the hype. Here's the first thing nobody ever says out loud. Not caring about sports does not make you boring. It doesn't mean you lack passion, emotion, or excitement, and it definitely doesn't mean something is wrong with you. But there is something fascinating happening inside your brain that separates you from the nearly 60% of adults who follow sports religiously. Let's start with the obvious question. Why do so many people care so deeply? Humans are tribal creatures by design. For most of human history, survival depended on belonging to a group. Your tribe hunted together, defended together, shared resources together. Being excluded often meant death. That ancient wiring never disappeared, it just found new outlets. Sports are essentially modern tribes with better branding, dramatic storylines, and merchandise. When someone watches their team play, their brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same chemical that strengthens family connections and romantic attachment. On a neurological level, the brain treats athletes in matching jerseys like members of the same clan. It's wild, but it's real. That's why people say we won instead of they won. The brain has already blurred the boundary. But here's where things get interesting. People who don't obsess over sports tend to have lower tribal identity activation. Their sense of self isn't tightly attached to external affiliations. Psychologists describe them as more internally anchored. They're less likely to define who they are by external affiliations. In simple terms, they don't need to belong to something bigger to feel whole. Research supports this. A 2019 study found that people with low interest in sports showed significantly reduced us versus them thinking. Translation, they don't automatically dislike the opposing team or feel hostility toward people wearing different colors. Their brains don't default to tribal conflict mode. Now let's talk about what's actually happening inside the brain of a sports fanatic during a game, because this part is uncomfortable. You know that feeling right before opening a gift? That tight anticipation in your chest? That's dopamine firing. Sports fans experience that same chemical surge repeatedly throughout a game. Every play, every possession, every near miss. These are microdoses of anticipation and reward stacked over hours. Brain imaging studies show that watching your favorite team activates the same reward circuits involved in gambling and other highly compelling behaviors. And the reason it's so powerful is uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen next. That unpredictability keeps dopamine flowing. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive reward schedule known to the human brain. It's the same principle that makes slot machines so hard to walk away from. Your brain keeps saying, maybe the next one. Importantly, the brain doesn't care where dopamine comes from. It just wants more. People who don't care about sports don't get that dopamine spike from vicarious competition. Watching someone else struggle or win doesn't activate their reward system in the same way. And this difference may not be a choice at all. Research from the University of Chicago suggests that variations in dopamine receptor genes can predict interest in competitive spectator activities. In other words, your total indifference to whether a team wins or loses might literally be written into your DNA. But chemistry isn't the whole story. Sports fans often experience something called burging, basking in reflected glory. When their team wins, they psychologically absorb that victory into their own identity. When the team loses, many distance themselves to protect their self-esteem. Notice how quickly we becomes they. People who don't obsess over sports tend to show a more consistent self-concept. Their sense of worth doesn't fluctuate based on external victories they had no control over. Their self-esteem is less fragile because it's less outsourced. That doesn't mean sports fans are weak. It means they've chosen a different emotional investment strategy. Here's a twist most people don't expect. Sports fans often score higher on certain measures of empathy. They practice feeling deeply for others, even strangers, as long as those people represent their group. So why don't non-sports people feel that same emotional pull? It comes down to empathy allocation. Emotional energy is limited. People who don't care about sports aren't less empathetic, they just distribute empathy differently. They're more likely to invest it in close relationships, creative work, intellectual pursuits, social causes, or personal growth. A 2021 study found that individuals with low sports interest scored higher in openness to experience and appreciation for art and beauty. They seek emotional highs through music, nature, ideas, meaning, and imagination. Same human needs, different delivery systems. For some people, not caring about sports is also protective. Maybe they were excluded in athletic environments. Maybe competition felt aggressive or hostile. Maybe sports culture represented pressure, comparison, or humiliation. Or maybe they simply never understood why adults scream at screens over a ball. Your indifference might have a backstory, or it might not. Both are valid. This is where sports fans and non-sports fans often talk past each other. The real difference lies in how meaning is experienced. Sports fans find meaning in narrative, underdogs, comebacks, dynasties, rivalries. The unpredictability creates emotional weight. It feels like real-life mythology unfolding in real time. Non-sports people often see that same randomness as empty. They ask, why emotionally invest in something I can't influence, performed by people I don't know, in a game that doesn't affect my life? They're not wrong, but sports fans aren't wrong either. Psychologists describe this as parasocial investment versus direct engagement. Sports fans form one-sided emotional bonds with teams and players. Non-sports people prefer engagement where their presence matters, where effort changes outcomes, where meaning is co-created rather than observed. One group finds transcendence in a championship run. The other finds it in a relationship, a project, a breakthrough, or an idea. Interestingly, people who don't obsess over sports often report feeling more present in their own lives. They're not spending hours emotionally riding someone else's highs and lows. They're engaged in their own struggles, their own narratives. There's something quietly radical about that. So what does all this mean? If you don't care about sports, you're not missing a fundamental human experience. You're just wired differently. Your dopamine system, your tribal instincts, your empathy distribution, they're calibrated another way. The next time someone asks, "Did you see the game?" and you genuinely couldn't care less, remember this: you're not broken, you're not boring, you're not empty. You're just playing a different game. And that game might, just maybe, have higher stakes. If this resonated with you, you'll probably love understanding why quiet people process the world differently and how that difference might be your greatest advantage. Click one of these videos and discover why you think differently than the crowd.